Were Mary and Martha expecting Jesus to raise Lazarus from the dead? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of John on Walking Through the Bible. If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to John chapter 11. We're going to be reading from verses 38 to 44. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So John chapter 11, beginning at verse 38. Then Jesus, again groaning in himself, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of him who is dead, said to him, "Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God?" Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was laying. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. And I know that you always hear me, but because of the people who are standing by, I said this, that you may believe, that they may believe that you sent me." Now when he had said these things, he cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come forth." And he who had died came out bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Loose him and let him go." Jesus is now at the tomb of Lazarus. He is there with Mary and Martha, the sisters of Lazarus, as well as those who were comforting and mourning with Mary and Martha. While Jesus was at the tomb, he wept. His weeping was not for Lazarus, for he knew what he was about to do, but it was weeping in sympathy, for death was a time of mourning. This shows us that even at the death of a Christian, it is proper to mourn, not for the dead, but for the living. For while on this earth, we will never see these loved ones again. That, however, would not be the case here, for in verse 39, Jesus commanded that the stone be taken away. Remember, tombs in that day were not like the same as the grave plots we have today. If Jesus were around today, he might very well have said, "Dig up the coffin." In those days, though, bodies were typically buried in caves and sealed with a stone. It was not uncommon for the bodies of entire families to be buried in the same cave. Once the body has decayed, there would no longer be a smell, but Lazarus' body had just died. Under normal circumstances, in the first 24 to 72 hours, the organs will begin to decompose, and the decay process will begin. However, after 72 hours, the decomposition process will enter a phase where it will begin to stink as gases from within the body are expelled. It has been 4 days since Lazarus has died, meaning about 96 hours. If they remove the stones, surely a putrid smell will be released, and those around the tomb will get sick. Jesus, though, mildly chastised Martha here by saying that didn't he tell her that if she believed, she would see the glory of God? Earlier in his discussion with Martha, he had told her about being the resurrection and the life, something she said she believed. Therefore, she should have had some idea, once Jesus asked for the stone to be removed, for what was about to happen, even though she probably wasn't expecting it. The stone was then removed, but instead of immediately calling Lazarus forth, he lifted up his eyes and prayed to God. He thanked the Father that he always heard him and would hear him now. He didn't say this for the benefit of himself, for he was the Son of God, one who was in perfect unity with the Father. No, instead, he said those words so that those who were listening might believe that the Father had sent Jesus. All the way through John, Jesus had claimed to be sent from the Father. He said that the works he performed confirmed this. Here in John 11, Jesus again is claiming to be sent from the Father. If Jesus was a fraud and not sent from God, then Lazarus would remain dead, for a fraud was not going to be able to perform the ultimate miracle, a resurrection from the dead. A fraud may have been able to fool the crowd into thinking that he healed a disease, but by Jesus waiting and allowing the body to begin the decay process, Jesus wouldn't be able to fool the crowd that he raised up a dead man if he didn't. Either Lazarus would come forth or he would not. So Jesus called for Lazarus to come forth, and lo and behold, Lazarus came forth. This was the 7th and final sign we have recorded here in John to show that Jesus was the Son of God. Now Lazarus was still bound hand and foot when he was resurrected, and so others had to go and remove the grave clothes, but Lazarus was alive. In raising Lazarus from the dead, Jesus would have also had to restore Lazarus' physical body, which would have begun to decay, back into working order. But that was the easy part, as it were. In Scripture, we don't read of many resurrections. In fact, we read of Jesus only raising 2 other people. However, with the raising of Jairus' daughter and the raising of the son of the widow in Nain, these bodies were not dead very long, for they hadn't been buried yet. There could have been skeptics as to whether those people were really dead, or just presumed dead. With Lazarus, he was really dead, and there was going to be no arguments about it. And so, since Jesus was able to perform this miracle, it proved that he was sent from God. The question is, would this miracle produce faith in those who didn't believe before? We'll discuss this, the Lord willing, in our next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of John chapter 11, verses 45 to 57, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world. Amen.